From ancient Vikings to fiery-eyed buffalo, we are diving deep into the beautiful, amazing visual feast that explores faith, belief, and making deals over shots of mead. It's the premiere episode of the STARZ original series, American Gods, The Bone Orchard. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of the premiere of American Gods. So there are spoilers ahead. I hope you're ready for it. All right, because we're diving right into it. Amazing, what a premiere episode. You know, with all the marketing, this show is really being sold on its visual storytelling, on its unique look, and it does not disappoint from the very beginning. The telling the tale of old when the Vikings first arrived in America. We are given really the feel and the themes of this show straight off the bat. One, really heightened storytelling, a heightened reality. That first shot when they try to step into the forest and we get the hail of arrows that just all go into the one guy. Beautiful, intense, and immediately they're telling us how these stories are being told. Everything is heightened. Everything is more. That, and of course, the central pillar of belief. That's really what this show is about. It is a war of beliefs. What powers the gods, what powers their blessings, the power of belief, of worship, of faith, and the effects that those can have. And of course, as that wanes and transfers, how new gods and new belief systems overcome the old ones, and we have that constant kind of recycling and change. That's really going to be the principal feel for this, the principal focus for this series. And then we dive in pretty much there into Shadow Moon, Ricky Whittle, who just does an amazing job in this. In fact, he and Ian McShane, I think, throughout this show, really are showing. They're kind of a power couple in the sense of power of naturalness. That the two of these share the screen. When they are together, the dialogue back and forth, the whole energy, they really fit quite naturally, and it's going to be quite a joy to see as this develops further on into the series. But quick summation, of course, we have Shadow Moon finishing up. He's been sentenced for 6 years for aggravated assault. He serves 3. He's about to get out in 5 days. He has this nice conversation with his wife, but of course, his concern is something's wrong. He feels it. There is something in the air, something stifling. And of course, that's change. That is change that he's feeling. And I think this starts to also set up a certain otherworldliness of Shadow Moon. One, heck of a name, as Mr. Wednesday refers to it back. You must have had the hippie parents, which is totally understandable. So between his name, the background, his weird feeling, and even visuals, the great scene of him kind of looking up as the ceiling cracked and he gets his last little look upon his wife, really sort of setting up him as a transition character. This is somebody who has kind of a foot in both worlds, in the known and the unknown, in the ethereal and the physical, which makes him the sort of perfect segue for us as the audience to see him exploring this world and stepping further into it. We get to see everything through his eyes. But of course, everything goes bad. Like the guard mentions to him, it's like a good news, bad news joke. He gets released early, but it's only because his wife has died, and thus begins his attempted journey home, where he does run into Mr. Wednesday, Ian McShane, just chewing up the scenery, doing a beautiful, beautiful job. And like I had said, the two of these together, when they share scenes, it is a wonderful back and forth. We get to see, obviously, that Shadow Moon has a bit of a con man history himself. He knows the lingo, he knows the routines, and this sort of gives their big connection together. Now, of course, that theme of faith and belief is immediately reinforced as soon as we meet Mr. Wednesday. From his discussion on the airplane about how the plane flies. Is it physics, or is it the belief in physics that allow things to happen? to his point on making deals. In the long term, he always wins. It's not about the cash, it's about faith. To, of course, even Shadow's dream of the fiery-eyed buffalo, who I believe is going to be a reoccurring theme throughout these episodes, speaking into his mind, believe. This is a very straightforward reinforcement of these themes. But of course, it really comes down to this is all about getting Shadow Moon into Mr. Wednesday's employ. And there are so many orchestrations of this. First of all, as Wednesday keeping to pop up, happens to be there on the plane trip, and then shows up there in the bar. He's pursuing Shadow Moon. He wants him into his employ, and thus, I think one of the questions that will come up again and again throughout this season is: did Mr. Wednesday cause the death of Laura? Cause the death of Shadow's wife? And first off, when we find out, the first question is, well, was it an accident? Was it natural causes? How did she die? Oh, it was a car accident. Okay, well, that could go a couple of different ways. Oh, it was a car accident with a best friend who was going to give Shadow a job. Oh, well, that seems somewhat suspicious. Also, in the middle of the night. Happened to be right after she got off the phone with Shadow. So what was she doing out there in the car driving with the guy in the middle of the night? Well, of course, as we do eventually find out from the best friend Aubrey's discussion of the exact circumstances of death. Wrong. They were, of course, having an affair. So this sort of frees him. Because of the affair, because of the means of the death, because the best friend was going to be the source of Shadow's job, at this point, Shadow has nothing. Now he's released from prison, he is out in the world, and he has nothing to lose. He has nothing to go back to, he has no job to support him, which puts him in a perfect position to be taken advantage of by a gentleman such as Wednesday. So I think this is something we're going to find out later on might end up have been orchestrated in the bigger events. Now that's going to get Shadow a bit upset, but I don't believe Wednesday caused her to cheat on him either. So in some ways, is he going to give the argument of, look, I was saving you from the embarrassment and now you're into this new world? I mean, that's going to be a tough sale to make, but I don't think we are done with this discussion. So the arc of this real opening episode is Shadow saying goodbye to his old life, wrapping things up and being ready to move into the new one, which kind of in some ways explains a lot of the visuals and the heightened reality that surrounds Shadow. He can easily dismiss a lot of this as possibly tricks when he's dealing with Mad Sweeney and the coin trick. Oh, is this something you're doing? He's aware of cons, he's aware of these types of things, so it's not something out of his realm of possibilities of believing in a rational world. So a lot of these situations that he comes in, I mean, even Wednesdays, if it's looking at a long con type of thing, you could think that Wednesday just did his research. Found Shadow, saw what was happening, did a little bit of research, and is working him to get him into his employ. All these work, for the most part, within our sense of reality. There's the scene with Bilquist, but we'll get into that in a minute. But it really shifts, it really changes up the moment that we meet Technology Boy. And timing-wise, it's perfect, because like I said, at that point, Shadow has said goodbye to his old life. He's done his bit there at the graveside. He got tempted by Aubrey and pushed her away. He's done his thing. So he is now literally walking away from his old life, walking towards his new engagement with Wednesday when Technology Boy shows up. And at that point, we are thrust fully into the realms of gods. So much so that even Shadow, who is very tough and very straightforward, is quieted down for a moment. The visuals are off the hook. The reality is strange. We have people forming up right next to him. We have powerful hypnotics floating around. I mean, we have fully at this point entered into the realm of the gods. And we get to see the war that is coming ahead. But through this scene, it really, again, heightens things up. We really get to find out the push of we have changed reality. It is talking about that language is a virus and religion is an operating system and prayers are just spam. They have hacked the world. They have changed the programming of the world. The old way is no longer the way that things are happening. So this is why we have this is that setup. This is the immediate collision of the war, and of course its consequences, the intensity of its consequences, because not only is Shadow ejected from Technology Boy's presence when he finds out that he doesn't have any information for him, it's more so. He's lynched. We have a black man being grabbed by a bunch of figures dressed in white, faceless figures dressed in white, that grab a rope and hang him up from the nearest tree. Or I think maybe in this point it's the light post. It's kind of hard to see on the high end there. And though it looks like the end, he is saved at the last minute. And that is going to be something that we're going to have to find out into next week, is exactly where that came from. Is this Mad Sweeney showing up with some brand new magic trick? We did have the coin go down into Laura's grave, which I didn't really have a full understanding of it. Was that some sort of summation? Was that a belief? Or is this not so much another figure coming in? Is this part of the deal that that Shadow struck with Wednesday when he made him his man and had the drinks? Is this part of the deal? Is there's a certain level of protection for Shadow for being betrayed or stepped upon? Because he's just a regular mortal going into the realms of the gods. He can't stand up to him. There has to be some additional protection for him. So does he have a bodyguard? Like I said, is it Sweeney? Is it someone else? Or is this the result of messing with Wednesday's man after a deal has been struck? That we're going to have to wait till next week for. One big question we might be asking, of course, is who is everybody? We've just got to introduce the stuff. The only one we really know right now is, well, we know Mad Sweeney. He's a leprechaun, very tall leprechaun, very upset that people are pigeonholing him with small leprechauns. Nobody likes prejudice. But of course, the other main character is Mr. Wednesday. And who is Mr. Wednesday in the realm of old gods? Well, the most obvious answer is, when he says today is my day, it's Wednesday. Wednesday is Woden's day. It is named the Day of Odin. And we do have the Viking opening, which seems to further reinforce that. Also, the whole eye thing seems to go on. We had the Vikings taking an eye, and when they were trying to pray to their god for salvation in the new world, Odin lost an eye. It was part of a deal with him. Odin's a big searcher for knowledge. He gave up an eye in order to be able to drink from the water of knowledge in the old thing. So he always has one guy. I mean, they even kept it in the Marvel movie. Odin always has the patch over his eye. And Wednesday, while it does look like he has two eyes, one, he's referring to his own one eye a couple of times. I've got a great eye, just one of them. A few other references, and also if you looked at some of the promotional material, some of the artwork, his right eye looks different than his left eye. It's probably a lens that goes in there. So between the eye thing and the Woden's Day, we're just going to say that he's Odin. He is Odin of the old gods. The only other possibility, and I just have to throw this out there, in Germanic languages it's Wednesday. In Romance languages it's after Mercury. Like in French, Mercredi is Wednesday, and that's after the god of Mercury. And since we do have a Wednesday going through, and he's doing a journey, he's delivering messages, it's a good possibility. But with the Viking stuff and the eye thing, I think we can pretty much say that Odin is going to be his original god name. Just a real quick comment on the scene with Belquist, the big sex scene. It was very cool, and it does establish, again, this sort of surreal new world. But I think that that's honestly something that could have saved until next episode. We had so much of the story of Shadow in this episode, saying goodbye to his old life, and then when we meet Technology Boy, it's such a big shift into the new world. I think it would have been better if we had saved the Belquist scene for later, because it doesn't really play into anything in this episode. It's just sort of an introduction to her. And obviously an old god that is looking for new worshippers in order to regain her youth and her strength. Strength comes from worship, which is why she was having him worship her. And at the end, her skin was all smooth and nice. And she had a discussion before as, you don't think that I am spent? So yeah, old god, getting new powers, this is the way that she does it. But I think that would have been something, better opening the next episode with, once we are fully into the world of the gods. Here, it was cool, it was freaky, but just a little incongruous with the rest of the arc of the episode. All right, just a couple of small little observations. One, very surprised that Shadow's credit card still worked. Usually don't get several years on those expiration points. Now, it could have been that his wife had sent it to him in the anticipation that he was about to get released and needed money to get back. That's most likely. That was just the first thought that I saw, was like, wow, his card still works? That's kind of surprising. The best advice of the episode comes from Shadow's prison buddy. Don't mess with the bitches in the airport. It's true, don't. They do not have a sense of humor. I am really looking forward to seeing more of Mad Sweeney, the giant leprechaun. One, just his desire of fight for the pure joy of it. But also just when he's in the background there and he's throwing darts and he's constantly hitting a bullseye. It was just something so beautiful and simplistic about that image. I loved it. I like how they focused on the necessity to make deals with the gods. In the old days, it wasn't just the gods didn't just decide to do something. You could work with them, you could make deals with them, but humans had to use their free will in order to do it. So even though Shadow was kind of manipulated, I love the fact that it reinforced that Wednesday said, you had to agree to this. You have to do this willingly. Don't rush into it. Think about it. Because once you're in pocket like that, it's for good. Oh, and Aubrey going off about her husband Robbie and the death with Laura there was just intense and crazy and manic and just kind of beautiful in its own sense. Not a whole lot for that actress to do in this episode, but pee on a grave and get pissed off at her dead husband and best friend. But that whole speech I thought was just harsh and nicely done. All right, so I think that's going to wrap things up for this week. Really, this is the opening salvo. This is the introduction. This is even really the first main chapter. We are just getting an inkling of what this show is going to bring for us, and already I can't wait till next week. Visually astounding, beautiful storytelling in the sense of also showing me, not telling me. Let me see the storyline. Let me see the intensity. Let me piece these things together as an audience member. Don't tell me everything that's going on. When filmmakers, when producers trust the audience to follow along with the journey, it is so much more fun. There is so much more they can do, and there's so much more that we can get out of it. I'm really excited with the future of what this series is going to bring, and I cannot wait to meet all of the new gods and see what they're doing. Anyway, so, like I said, we're going to wrap things up for this week. If you did enjoy this review, please hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, comments, throw those down in the section below. What did you think of the episode? Where do you think we're going? Do you think Wednesday was behind Laura and Robbie's death? What are your expectations going into the show? Throw those down in the comments. We can start a little dialogue going on. And of course, if you really did enjoy this, you can go ahead and share this too with all of your friends. That would be awesome. Now you can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at Darren Jakes. But this is just the beginning. We've got a whole season coming up, so you don't want to miss it. And if you're a subscriber, you won't. Not a subscriber? Join up. You can do that by hitting my face right there, that little picture of me, and you won't miss anything. And I'm going to throw up our last review for Black Sails right here, the last beautiful STARZ series, and you can check that out. So, that's going to be it. I am D, and I'm out of here. I'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.